Well, hello, and welcome to. I guess we're at the end, right? So we're on Thursday, the day after everything was due, at the end of our what was a little bit of an extended 8-week term in our Spring One term here at APU in the leadership program, specifically understanding vocation in a changing world. Similar to understanding vocation in a changing world, my facial hair has changed once again, and I will say that my family was quite pleasantly pleased to see that the beard was gone. I will say, how do I say this? I went to get a straight edge, shaved off the other day, and I wonder if the person that shaved my face needs to maybe get some additional training as they pursue their vocational call as a barber. I was left bleeding in a number of different places, and to which the response was, "Oh, you'll be fine." So fortunately, I am fine today, but if you see some red spots, it's because I was cut as I was having my face shaven. So interesting story that probably you don't care about, but if we were to be in the classroom together in a live course, I would be sharing these seemingly inconsequential stories, but in fact would make some sort of connection to our class. And so that one's for free. There you are. Let me say a couple things just in closing of our course together. Probably I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to make the assumption this was hopefully a refreshing, exhilarating learning experience, but also probably a little bit different than perhaps even what you expected it would be. I do hope that you learned a tremendous amount in your time. I feel that you covered so much. You covered so much. And I'm impressed, and I'm so grateful that you were you joined me along this journey together, that we got to unpack some important ideas and have these important discussions. I was reminded yesterday, I was in a meeting with I guess I could, in some respects, say that he was my professional mentor and someone that I strive to be like in some pretty significant ways when I teach, when I especially cover topics like vocation and calling, and as we kind of delve into career development. Dr. Paul Cack, I don't know if any of you have had Dr. Paul Cack, but he's kind of, he's in many ways, he has pioneered a lot of the work that I have been able to kind of follow in his footsteps, and almost in a sense ride in his coattails and try to emulate in a lot of ways the work that he has done. So in a previous career, he was the program director for the Leadership Minor program, which I currently serve in my full-time role. In a previous career, he was the primary instructor for this specific course here in Understanding Vocation in a Changing World. And so now I get to be the primary instructor for this course most often when it's offered on the books. And so I guess I would have to credit him with much of my interest, I would even say my passion, my excitement about this topic of vocation. And I hope that so many of you will continue to kind of be the standard or the light bearers, if you will, for this content, that you will take it. We were talking yesterday, as I was about to mention, about a number of things, but one of those things that we discussed was, so we now have, and I like to refer to it as this kind of this burden of responsibility. So resting squarely upon our shoulders, you now have this, in some respects, I would even argue, some newfound knowledge, or maybe some reinterpreted knowledge, or as we talked about, this learning, unlearning, and relearning knowledge. So the responsibility is now, what do you do with it? What do I do with it? How do we freely give this information away? How do we share this with other people? And so are you going to go on and be, career coaches and do vocational coaching? And, chances are probably not. But you're going to be in conversation with folks. You're going to be with family. You're going to be with friends. You're going to be talking about a number of these topics with folks. And so now, as you consider where you go from here, I hope that you'll consider how you're going to share this information. So, you are. So it's almost and obviously I don't want to make the connection. We see go therefore and make disciples. We're not looking from a gospel evangelism type approach. But at the same time, I think we do use language like that. We are evangelists for things that we believe in, that we are excited about. So if you get a new pair of shoes, or maybe you bought a pair of jeans, or even a book from some little known bookstore or some little known retail operation, we become evangelists for those things. When we like to shout them from the rooftops and tell everybody that we know about them. My hope and prayer would be that we're doing the same with our relationship with Jesus, if that's where we find ourselves. But as we talk specifically about this course, given that there are so many, I think, faith and spirituality connections and ramifications that come with this, I'll use the same language. So are we going to be people that continue to spread the good word, if you will, of vocation? Paul also reminded me that we need to make sure that in the work that we do, we hold on for dear life in many respects, actually. To the academic credibility of this topic as it's taught, and we don't let the invasion, if you will, of kind of our current thinking about the topic of vocation come to a place where it's just considered that vocation is just a job, right? It's just what you do on a daily basis. It's your occupation. It's your vocational training. No, it's not. It is those things, but it's so much more than that. And again, as we talk about work and we talk about all these realities with calling and career, and I think we can't, again, do justice without talking about our vocation, and really that vocation being this vocational call that we have, these vocational stations. I teach a class, or have taught a class, I should say, at my church, and I called it the family vocation. So there's a great book I'm looking at here, written by Gene Veith. He actually wrote it with his daughter, and it's titled Family Vocation. So we look at how we are, not only are we employers or employees, not only are we students, because being a student, actually I'm looking right now and doing some study on the vocation of a student. That's a station, that's a vocational station that many of us, obviously you, are holding, and many of us have held and will continue to hold as we go forth from this course. But we also hold the station, the vocational station of a friend, and there's a vocational station of leisure, and there's a vocational station of rest, and of brother and sister and father and mother, and employer, supervisor, boss, business owner, church member, church attender. So there's so much more to this idea of vocation than just work. Because everywhere that we are, every role that we inhabit is some form, I think you could say, of a vocational station. And so we must, you and I, we together, and those that have, I think, really had I would say, I think it's fair to say in some respects, this is a privilege, if you will, to learn about this content. And I hope that we don't hoard it and keep it to ourselves. In fact, the conversations that I've had with many of you, or the comments that you have made, the conversations that you have with one another, as I'm reading the way that you're thinking, I'm reading your papers, your responses to these texts, and all of the different assignments that we've kind of taken part in over this last 8.5 weeks. I don't get the feeling that you're the type of person that's going to hold on to this for your good only. Because I think that, if we go back, and I love to kind of blow things out of the water. If you look at Jeremiah 29:11, we talked about this, I think. And we all know, if we've been around church any amount of time, or we've been around APU even for a amount of time, we see that there's even license plate placards that we put Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, Azusa Pacific University, Jeremiah 29:11. And it says, if you know this verse, it's, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, plans to give you a hope and future, not to harm you," right? There's all these things, right? Plans not to harm you, but plans to prosper you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And we, I think, so often take this idea, this reality, this statement, this prophetic word that's given in the book of Jeremiah, as we take it out of context. If we need to look contextually and see and understand and realize that this was written to the Israelites who were in fact in exile. And here's this prophetic word coming to them saying that I have a plan for you. And in fact, it's not a plan to harm you. It's a plan for your prospering. It's a plan filled with hope. It's a plan for the future. And so can we take those things out of the original context and put them into today's context? We can, absolutely. Does God have a plan for us? I believe so, yes. Is that a plan that's filled with hope? Yeah, I mean, in Him there's great, great hope. In fact, I think we've talked about this, if the chief end of man, the chief end of humankind, right, is pleasure, then what happens when there's suffering? We can still have hope knowing that there's a God who has a plan for our lives. But Jeremiah 29:11 is not the context that we should be discussing, I don't think, this role of work. Because you see that go back 4 verses in Jeremiah 29:7, and we see that, again, these exiles are told that they are to pursue the welfare of the city. Again, they're in exile. So what do they have? They don't have a whole lot, but they're still to pursue the welfare of the city. And in their welfare, you too will find yours. So I look at that and I go, I was having a conversation with a guy I met at a coffee shop this morning, and we see in the book of Romans it talks about how we are to outdo one another in honor, meaning we are to put other people first. So what difference does this learning make? What difference does this education make? How is it to benefit anybody but you? And it only is going to benefit anybody but you when we take what we know, knowledge being power, knowledge informing the way that we think, and if our actions are a direct reflection of our thoughts, it's going to benefit people. It's going we are going to pursue and then hopefully in turn create the welfare of the city. When the righteous flourish, the city rejoices. Do all of these things in hopes that it's going to make other people's lives better. And when their lives are better, right? When their welfare is promoted and put forth by us, it's in those moments where our lives are bettered, where we find our welfare. So I want to challenge you with that. In turn of what you've learned, what do you now do? In light of what you now know, how do you now act? What is our responsibility and how will we fulfill that? So obviously, we're going to respond to that question in many different ways. But bottom line is, I hope that you don't just hold on to this. I hope that you share this, and I hope that you help, because I think it can be quite freeing, actually. It can be freeing to know that I can just have a menial job, an assumed or a perceived menial job, and I can still find great meaning because my vocation is something so much bigger than that. As you thought through your vocational identities, how does that play out in what you do? I know a lot of folks, they end up getting a degree like this, and it's really either to move up or to move out. And so as you're considering these next moves, potentially, as you move up, you move out, I think it changes things. It frees us to think of different opportunities that we could pursue. So let me just, again, say thank you for your commitment to the learning process. Thank you for your contribution. If I can continue to be of service in any way or have questions that you might have to answer, feel free to ask. If you're looking for additional resources, I'm happy to share those. If you're wanting to talk more, how can I study more on this topic? What are some great avenues for that? I'm happy to. That's my favorite topic, is to share information to help you be more successful, to help you be more informed, to help you look better in all that you do. So I am so grateful for this journey we've been on. I will have grades hopefully posted by tomorrow night at midnight, because that's when they're due. You've all done exceptionally well. So I know some of you had some issues with getting things submitted on time for various reasons, and I'm still going to take those items, so please don't feel like they'll be docked for that. Unless, of course, it's not in yet, then we'll have to have a different conversation. But if you got it to me, there was a couple, 3-4 emails that came in almost at the same exact time last night. I'm happy to still accept those for full credit, or the credit that's deserved in those assignments. So anywho, thanks for a great term. If you're on campus, please feel free to stop by, or if you just have other questions, like I said, feel free to shoot me an email. Happy to talk with you. We can even have a phone conversation if need be about other things related to these topics. So one last thing, I think we had at least one baby that was born in the midst of this term. So congratulations goes out to you. I hope that all is healthy and well with you, baby, and wife. We are excited for you. So congratulations on getting done, and we will see you when we see you.